Well, good morning. Good morning. This is Coffee with Carol. We're getting a little bit of a late start today, but coffee is good late morning as well, right? So today I want to talk about hearing from God and hearing God's voice. I don't think there's any real specific, definitive way that you can hear God's voice because he speaks to everybody in a very different way. I think of it like this. If you speak to a child, you say it a certain way. And if you speak to an adult, you say the same thing in a different way. There are things that you would say to an adult that you wouldn't say to a child. So God speaks to us all different because we are all unique and different. But I think there's some key things that we can look for when we are, really thinking about do we hear from God? Are we hearing from God? So the first thing is that most of the time we are wondering about this when we are at a decision-making point, right? When we are trying to make a decision about a situation, maybe to take a certain job or to leave a group or to start a business. These things we tend to go back and forth and vacillate on a little bit. And I don't think there's any place in the Bible. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure that God doesn't focus ever on the problem for more than maybe one or two times. He never is consumed by the problem. He wants us to speak to the problem, not about the problem. So what are you doing? When you are trying to make a decision, are you just going over and over and over the situation, going over and over and over all of the pros and cons and options and ups and downs? Are you trying to worry about the outcome and what's going to happen? Because that could be just you trying to rationalize and justify the answer and then say, oh, well, God said to do this. I want to read to you Jeremiah 23, verses 35 through 36. And this is out of the Message Bible. Instead of claiming to know what God says, ask questions of one another, such as, how do we understand God in this? But don't go around pretending to know it all, saying, God told me this and God told me that. I don't want to hear that anymore. Only the person I authorize speaks for me. Otherwise, my message gets twisted, the message of the living God of the angel armies. So what God is saying here is don't go around saying, well, God said this and God said that. You know what? You might be twisting the message. So how do we twist the message? Well, we fixate maybe on the problem instead of fixating on God. God talks to you and more importantly, talks about your heart. He doesn't talk to you about other people's hearts or other people's situations. He really doesn't. He asks you, well, what about you? So if you're focused more on what others are saying or doing or what they're going to do for you or what you think they might do for you, it may mean that you have some mixed feelings because God's going to get you to focus back on him and focus more on your trust in him. Go to Romans 12:2, and you will see that, God wants us to really, really look at what he's doing, pay more attention to what he's doing than what everybody else is doing. God focuses, as I said, on your heart. So if you have a specific decision to make, do you trust him? So if you're looking at, let's say, choosing a job, are you looking at the job or the employer as your provision? Or are you looking at God as your provision? Do you trust that God will give you the people, the places, and all of the things that you need in order for you to have what it is you want? Or are you seeking those things from the world? God really wants to get, let's just say, to the heart of the matter. When you're listening to advice and opinions and ideas from people, who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please God, or are you trying to please man? Whose approval do you want? That's a really good indicator of whether or not you're listening to your own voice or you're listening to God. Galatians 1:10. So let's just put this into practical use, because it doesn't make a lot of sense unless we can see it in action, right? We want that profound knowledge. So let's say you're trying to decide on starting a business. Ask yourself, why do I want to start this business? What is my motivation? And does my motivation make me depend on God 100%? Or is it a false dependence on a imagined success? Does the business, this is the second question, does the business make me seek God's approval, or am I seeking man's approval? Like, am I seeking to fit in? Am I seeking to get some recognition or status? Am I seeking being part of a team or a group and gaining confidence through that? Or am I seeking God for those things? That's a big indicator. When you close your eyes and you focus in on the vision, question number 3, and you're looking at this business from a vision standpoint, do you see yourself receiving or giving? And what I mean by that is, do you see yourself receiving attention, receiving awards, receiving a place of status? Or do you see yourself giving to others? Are you constantly in that vision doing things for other people? Are you the center of attention in your vision, or are other people the center of attention? That's a good one as well, because God wants us to serve him and then serve others. If we are focused just on ourselves, that is a clue of who's making the decision or who we're listening to. The next question is about fear. And this is a tricky one, but I think you'll get it. What does your fear look like? Because we all are going to have fear when we step into unknown territory, right? Step into that new business. But what is your fear? When you are making this decision, are you fearing taking the risk? Stepping into that unknown territory? Is that your bigger fear? Or is your fear about losing? Like, I might lose money, or I might lose my home, or I might lose my position, or I might lose. Is there something that you might lose if you don't try it? Will you lose out on a chance? Like, there's a deadline, and if you don't get it done by that deadline, are you going to lose something? So what are you fearing? Are you fearing more the risk, or are you fearing what you'll lose? Because God's business, what God requires of us, is risky. So the risk that you take, when it's a risk, if you're going in the direction of the risk, that's probably God. When you're going in the direction of losing something, or missing out on something, or not having something, that's probably not God. So look at those things. Focus on God instead of focusing on yourself, right? The world wants us to focus on self. And that creates feelings of loss, of doubt, of confusion. And we're just going in circles, talking about it and wondering, and, ooh, should I, shouldn't I, right? God's answer always brings peace. It just brings peace. He doesn't make a big deal about it. If you follow after God and you seek him in everything, I really believe that you will make the right decision. Now, if you want to discuss more about this, because I know this is a challenging thing and all of us have different things that we go through, I would really challenge you to reach out to me. Just reach out to me and send me a message and say you'd like to just chat for a few minutes. I will make time for you. God does the how, you do the do. Make it an amazing day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.